Welcome back to Nourishing Maine. I'm Mary Kate Rennie.
And I'm Marge Kilkelly, and we're here at Dragonfly Cove Farm in Dresden. And today we are joined by Jenny Tilton Flood. And I will say one of the great things is that it's like the large farmer person who's got huge numbers of cows is coming to visit the little teeny tiny goat farm. And we're ever so grateful that you're here
welcome,
for all
Jenny.
the work that you do with dairy and the rural economy, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And really, honestly, it doesn't even matter how many animals I take care of or how many animals you take care of. We all got to get up and do that work every day. And without this diversity, Maine wouldn't have the abundant food supply it has.
No kidding.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk about cheese.
Cheese, glorious cheese.
Big fans of cheese here.
We are big fans of cheese. And today we are going to do a recipe that is a cheesy Brussels sprout casserole. And the nice thing about Brussels sprouts is that they're available almost year-round in the state of Maine.
They're delicious. They're grown here, they come here, and they're nutritious too.
And this time of year, they're still looking beautiful.
They are.
Yeah.
As you can see,
As you can.
we have
Here we be.
gorgeous, gorgeous Brussels sprouts. And so we are going to start this recipe by trimming and cutting in half said Brussels sprouts. Let's do it. Yep.
Okay.
And the ends
Here's
the
your
ends will
friends.
go to the goats, who will be very happy to have.
They're so helpful, those goats.
They are.
Eliminating food waste, which is one of the easiest things that we consumers can do to improve the climate situation.
It's
That's
true.
true.
They do a lot of the heavy lifting, goats and cows and
Yes.
And chickens.
chickens.
Yep, the chickens will often
put the
take
cut
care
ones
of the
in?
other things.
On this, or where are we putting our?
Put them on
Just
the
on
side
front?
for a minute, and then we'll
You
then
got
we'll
it.
get them.
Okay.
I love the way. I mean, Brussels sprouts. They are just like little miniature cabbages.
These are pretty snappy ones.
They are.
Nice and green.
And I think one of the interesting things when I was a kid, Brussels sprouts were boiled until they were mashy, and were not really.
And smelled pretty sulfury.
And they did.
Yeah.
And so what's
a
been
bowl for
really
us.
wonderful about Brussels sprouts lately is that they're cooked in so many different ways.
And not as long, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
true.
when nobody minds it having a little bit of a toothiness, right? But they're not overdone.
And roasting it is becoming so popular, and you can mix
Yeah.
it with all kinds of things. It really does unlock such a really good sweetness and caramelization. And
And I bet the cheese brings all kinds of fat and mouth and yum.
yes, cheese brings everything you ever needed to your life. One delicious bite.
So are we using a sharp cheddar here today?
Using an
Yes,
extra
extra sharp. So when we talk about cheddars and cheeses that have been aged, as they age, our hard cheeses like cheddar, they tend to get a little bit more of a bite. I call it that Yankee bite. So especially with our New England cheddars, and it seems to really adds a lot of flavor, a lot of tang, and some people think it's a little bit too sharp, but sometimes you can always find a milder cheddar as well. And it does add a really nice flavor, a robustness, and of course, cheese adds a really nice satisfaction when you're eating something too. Even if it's something that you want to be super healthy, doesn't mean it shouldn't feel fully. You shouldn't be filling.
So do most dairy, not all dairy farms are making cheese.
Right.
Many of them, of course, do milk. But how is that division of labor in Maine happen?
So in the state of Maine, we have around 146 dairy farms, and they are all producing milk. And most of the milk in the state of Maine, upwards of 95%, is actually going to a fluid milk processor and a bottler. So whether it's to H.P. Hood or Hannaford, Smiling Hill, or Holton Farms Dairy, it's going into what we recognize as that fluid milk we're going to pick off the store shelves, gallons and things like that. But there's also cheese that's going to be made with some of it, and that's done by a lot of our artisan craftspeople throughout the state. Some of my favorites would be Winter Hill in the Freeport area. They make an amazing one called Tideline. Amy Rowbottom at Crooked Face Creamery in Skowhegan does an amazing job. Her smoked ricotta is wonderful. And Carrie Whitcomb.
Heard of that?
Oh, it is the best breakfast food around. Carrie Whitcomb at Springdale Creamery does a fascinating job.
So they're smaller little processors that.
They are. They're on-farm processing, and we also have cheesemakers in the state that do it at a larger scale, like Pineland Farms Dairy.
Right.
So while they have a dairy farm in southern Maine, they also have a creamery up in northern Maine, or rather northeastern Maine in Bangor, and they do a really great job making some really fantastic cheese there.
They do. Yes.
We're going to use that plastic bag. And one of the things we need to do now is to put oil and salt and pepper on these Brussels sprouts. And we find the easiest way to do that is to put them in a plastic Ziploc bag.
And do the shimmy shake.
And do the shake. And the other nice thing about that is you can make this early.
Yes.
So if you're, on a schedule and you've got time to cut up the Brussels sprouts now, you can do that. And then you can put them in the refrigerator until you're ready to use them.
Yeah.
And there's the olive oil. We'll let you do the honors with that.
Oh, thank you. A couple glug glugs.
Glug glugs, yeah, we like glug glugs.
Our measuring glug glugs. Nice.
Good.
Thank you.
Salt?
A pinch or two, or a scoop or two. What do you think?
We have a cute little.
This is very
Oh, I love
cute.
that.
It's a little. It's
Probably a half teaspoon in this little thing.
a little less than that.
A little less than that.
Yeah.
How about that?
Good.
Okay. I love that.
And then pepper.
You can do the honors.
Thank you.
I'm left holding the bag. We're really bad at jokes around here.
You're very good at it. If you were a dad, there would be accolades.
There would be. That was a. We'll call them Marge jokes instead of
Yes.
dad jokes.
I always say dad jokes are spelled wrong. It's bad.
Yeah. This is going on this sheet pan, yes?
It is.
I like this method.
I do
Isn't that
too.
nice?
I usually do it just on the pan and drizzle, and I know it doesn't get coated all the way.
And I get very messy when I'm like that.
I do too. Yeah.
And it really is. It's just, it gets, and like I said,
good trick.
You can also, it's kind of a Joe way,
Yeah,
it's, one of those things.
An official hack.
An official. And there they go.
Oh, so satisfying to move them.
It is.
And then the one singular crunchies.
Those become very
crispies.
crunchy.
Yes. All right.
All right.
So we're
Those
roasting.
are gorgeous, and we're going to roast them in the oven for about 20 minutes at 350.
Thanks. I was wondering what that temperature was.
It's the universal 350.
And was that about a pound of Brussels sprouts, Marge?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so now that we've got the Brussels sprouts done, now we need to make a sauce.
Yes.
And our sauce is going to have an onion. Actually, it calls for a half a cup, except that that's probably going to be more than a half a cup. But we always put an extra onion here because I'm here.
Because Marge is here. And this is not a large. I mean, this
It's
is
not large.
yeah, it's probably pretty close to half a cup.
Onion is flavor.
It is
Onion
flavor.
is flavor.
And again, they're available all year, and they're in great shape. And
Yeah.
are you going to do your garlic trick?
I'm going to do the garlic, and you guys can each cut up half of the onion.
We
How's
will.
that?
Let me peel it, and then we'll have at it.
So my favorite thing about garlic is that, especially if you've had a kind of challenging day or a challenging week, there really isn't anything much more satisfying than doing that.
A challenging morning.
And it's lovely. And the other thing about this is that when you slice garlic, you have actually less surface area than if you crush it. And it's the surface area and getting those aromatics out that really make a difference. So, then we just
Smell it from
take
here.
off. I know, doesn't it smell good? That's another thing we have lots of in Maine.
Yes.
Lots.
I'm getting whiffs of garlic right now. It smells so good right
Doesn't
now.
it?
Do you grow garlic, Marge? Or
We do some.
Yeah.
I've got some out in the greenhouse right now. We'll see what
I never have.
happens.
Do you?
I don't, but from my CSA, I get
Same.
garlic
Same.
regularly
Yeah.
from Maine, and it's just such a boon.
Dried perfectly.
Yes. Every time I try to dry it or braid it, it's just, I know what one of my gifts are not.
Well, you know, the other thing about garlic is that because there are different kinds, like we grow hardneck garlic, which doesn't braid.
Okay.
And
That's right.
So if you want to do a braided garlic, you need to grow a particular kind of garlic that's going to have a nice soft stem so that you can in fact do that. That was a lesson hard learned. And we're going to put the butter in the fry pan, and we'll put the onions and the garlic, and we will have wonderful things going on. So let's move to the stove.
I'm going to grab that. I'll grab this and bring it over. We're going to do the onion first, right, Marge?
Yeah, I usually do the onion first because the garlic will
Burn.
have a tendency to burn otherwise.
I personally find it quite appealing when I see butter start melting in a cast iron skillet.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Well, and we have a 10-burner stove, and when we got it, we decided that 4 burners were for Joe, 4 burners for me, and 2 are demilitarized. I mean, I think it's important. You know, space is important.
Yes. And that can be used for the grill pan.
That's
Yeah.
right. It can.
Want me to scoop that in there when that
I was gonna
melts?
say, let it
All
melt
right.
just a little bit more.
So we're making the base of the sauce. It's going to be onions in delicious butter, garlic. What else goes in there? Chicken stock or?
Chicken stock.
Okay.
And once we get the butter melted and we get the onions and the garlic cooked, then we're going to add flour.
Oh,
and that's
a
going to
roux.
make
Yep.
a roux. And a roux is just basically cooked flour with butter, and it's a great thickener and a really, really important basic part of cooking.
It really is. And then when you add the cheese to that roux, that's magic happens.
And what's cool about this recipe is that the first cheese that you add is cream cheese.
Oh.
And that wasn't something that I was expecting.
It is different. And I will say that for a long time I was so scared about making a roux. I thought it was like this very complicated thing. And while there's a lot of science going on in the pan, it's really, once you figure it out, you're just adding it to coat. You want to make sure you cook out the flour taste, and then you've unlocked the potential of a bechamel and cheese sauces. And it's just, once you conquer it, you shouldn't be afraid of it. It's like one of the biggest things I've ever learned from watching Julia Child. Don't be afraid. Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? This is why we have fire extinguishers nearby.
And why we have chickens. And
Yes. Yes. So
This is a little bit of flour. You're going to go onions
So we're
first.
going to do onions first.
I'm going to love the smell. As much as I love the smell of fresh onion and garlic, when it starts to cook in butter, it's just so delicious.
It really is.
It's one of those things, you know, they talk about if you're trying to sell a house, one of the things to do is to, be cooking something. I just think you need to cook onions.
Yes.
I mean, what else is
It's
there?
usually chocolate chip cookies.
I know, but for me it's onions. I know. I'm
Marge's love language are onions and garlic.
I'm a savory kind of girl. I'm going to let you do that.
I was going to ask if you wanted me to stir.
Please. Thank you.
So, and thank you for using Cabot butter. I've noticed. I know I come with Cabot on my, I wear it on my sleeve, but I appreciate using it. 1/3 of Maine's dairy farmers are Cabot Creamery Cooperative owners, so it makes a big difference for us when people choose it. But there's all kinds of really great butter to buy here in the state as well. Casco Bay Creamery has great cultured butter.
Cultured butter is an interesting thing. When people buy butter and it says sweet butter, they just assume, well, of course butter's sweet. But there is cultured butter, and the history of cultured butter has to do with if you've got one cow and you're skimming the cream over a number of days, it's going to be cultured by the time you make butter.
Yeah.
There really isn't much of a choice.
Garlic's going in.
Garlic's going in.
I've always been one of these really, like, I read the directions, I try and understand it, I study it, and I was like, how long? And it really is till fragrant, that sort of thing. And once you get that, it's all about confidence, having confidence in the kitchen. So that's why I really love watching you guys cook. It gives me confidence.
Well, and that, I mean, what we hope is that people see that, I mean, we don't do everything perfectly. There are times when things, you just have to kind of move on the fly.
But that's the benefit, right?
But that's the benefit. And that's the really neat part of doing this. And there is your flour all measured out.
You give it just a few.
So probably 5 to 7 minutes to get the onions in the right.
Yeah, maybe not quite.
Not quite that long.
Not quite that. I'd say 3.
Because it's baking in the oven.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
The whole
No,
casserole.
the whole thing is going to.
So it doesn't have to be absolutely finished.
That's right.
Got it.
Just want to cook out the rawness. My grandmother used to eat onions like an apple.
Boy.
And I thought she was telling me that as like a story of growing up on Goosepecker Ridge in Freedom, Maine during the Depression. But no, she really, really loved it. So she loved onions as well.
Well, there are, sweet onions that are pretty mild, but.
I think I'm going to add this now.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'll take that for you.
Thank
And
you.
the first cheese is going to be cream.
The first cheese is going to be cream cheese,
Okay.
and we need 3 ounces of that. And you'll notice that on the package, there's wonderful markings.
There are.
Markings on packages are great. It's like on butter. If you need a certain number of tablespoons, just look on the package. It's great.
Right.
There's
A lot
the
of
3
times we don't
ounces.
realize those markings are there. And once we do, we're like, how did I not know this before?
And you said 3, correct?
3.
Okay.
Just a second.
Are you ready? This is chicken stock.
This is a very well seasoned pan. Congratulations to the chefs.
There's a collection of.
Yes.
And how much stock are we adding, ish?
We're adding 1 3/4 cups.
Total.
Yep.
Great.
Don't freak out if like your flour starts to clump a little. This is where you get to stir it up and make amends.
Some of those clumps might be garlic and onion.
Yeah. Cooking is very forgiving in a lot of ways. There's always the next step if you can make amends for your past steps.
That's true.
And it's starting to thicken up. I can see it.
Yeah.
And we need to, now we're taking all the things off the tray.
Okay.
And we need, I think half of this.
Shall I start shredding?
Yes.
All right.
And I'm going to have you shred it in 2 piles. We
Okay.
need 1 pile that is going to go in the sauce and 1 pile that is going to go on top.
I can do that, and you can bring that to the stove.
Oh, yes. How are we doing?
Pretty good. Starting to tighten up a little. It smells good.
Does smell good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what's not to love? You know, we've got butter, onion, garlic.
And cheese is coming.
And cheese
Yes.
is coming. I mean, it's like all the 4 food groups.
Right. The goodness is here and the
Don't forget about the Brussels
best is yet
sprouts.
to come.
And the Brussels sprouts, that's right. We've got the Brussels sprouts too.
Because roasting the Brussels really sweetened those up as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can smell those cooking now. We've got those in the oven, so those are lovely.
We did.
I think at wintertime in Maine, especially when we get to this time of year, we have an abundance of local foods that are what we would consider maybe really savory or bitter, but any like root vegetables, anything like the Brussels sprouts, they really, when you roast them, their
Yeah.
sweetness
They do.
shines
The,
through.
Yeah, parsnips for sure. I never trusted that until I did it.
Love parsnips.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I think the other thing about roasting vegetables is a mistake that people make sometimes is to put, if they're going to roast 2 or 3 kinds of vegetables, they put them all in the pan at the same time. And it's really important
I've
to
done
take a
that.
look at, okay, the carrots are going to take longer than something else. So,
Right.
you know, to put them on at a different time makes so much sense.
I used to make a fudge, and it was just pop it in the microwave, make it a fudge, but everyone loved it, and I called it my wooden spoon fudge. I told them it took me 50 minutes of constant stirring with only a wooden spoon. I got away with that for decades. I will no longer be able to get away with it.
No.
No, now everybody's
Your
gonna
secret's
know.
out.
My secret is out.
Do you see a whisk in there? Yeah, there should be.
There's a big one here.
Yeah, that's the one.
Would you like that?
Yes.
And I'm going to wash my...
know it's the
It's a
golden.
gold one. I
The
feel like
golden whisk.
I want to thank Marge for this quart. This is some next level, man.
Isn't it a fun thing?
This is coming together so well.
Yeah, it looks good. So this is the one that we're going to put in there in a minute.
All right. This is for the top. Yeah.
And that's for the top.
You got it.
And then we have, I love these Ritz cracker half sleeves because you're always opening Ritz crackers. You never, I never use the whole thing. And then you kind of twist them
Do I
up,
need to
but
add
they
this?
just never seem quite
Sure,
right.
please.
Okay.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
grating
There
all
it
that.
goes.
You're welcome.
So the nice way to do this is just squeeze it,
Another hack.
and it's done.
Jeez.
Ritz crackers and cheese, I mean, really. So how's your sauce coming?
It's coming along really well. I do want to bathe in it. Is that wrong?
That's wrong.
Okay. Let's bathe some Brussels sprouts in it.
There we go.
Let's bathe Brussels sprouts in it. I think that's a plan. So we are going to take the roasted Brussels sprouts out of the oven. Woo!
Oh, look how
Delish.
beautiful.
And we are going to put those in the baking dish.
Which I can
And
do.
we've turned that off, so you can stop stirring now for a minute. There you go.
So this is going to go into that luscious cheese bath.
Right.
And then we'll be covering it with other things. And then how long does it cook in the oven?
It cooks for about 25 minutes.
Yeah, just get it all heated through.
Everything is pretty much cooked going in. The other thing that's important is I did grease that pan,
I
that
noticed.
casserole dish, because
Right.
that is one of the interesting aspects of cheese. If you cook a cheese casserole in a dish that has not been buttered,
You're going to
you
miss
will-
out. You're going to miss some cheese.
you are, and you're going to spend a fair amount of time cleaning.
Right. This was like the
spending a
perfect
lot of time
amount
cleaning
of
now.
sprouts.
Well, of
You'd
course. You'd think we
Boy.
measured.
You'd think. Exactly. Oh, and we did measure. Oh, wait, I don't want to
kind of
waste.
sort of measured.
Yeah, a pound.
We measured with love.
We did. We measured with love.
Okay.
And
Do you want to?
as you can see, it's like a nice cream sauce. And it's got the onion and the garlic in. Oh, the smell.
Smells so good.
You know, it's that whole joke about smell-o-vision.
Oh, it's hard not to tilt it. The garlic and the onion on top.
Cheese really is one of the best accessories a vegetable can wear.
Makes everything better.
I think the other thing about cheese that people don't think about right now is that cheese, when many eons ago, when people only had milk seasonally and had too much of it in season, cheese was the way to store it.
Right.
It was the way that you stored your milk so you had some later. So I've crushed the crackers in the cute little package. I put the crackers on first and then the cheese. Is there any order that you prefer?
I don't think so. And you could always put cheese, crackers, and then more cheese. Another thing I really feel like I should point out is that a lot of folks can be lactose intolerant. True. The fact is cheddar cheese does not have lactose. And yeah, so because of the aging process, so when you're making cheese, you're removing the whey. 98% of the lactose is in there. That other
makes sense.
2%, when cheese ages, it's going to dissipate. And a lot of cheese is marked that way.
There
that
is
delicious
our
casserole.
So
casserole,
beautiful.
and it's going to go in the oven at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's bubbly. It's like everything else we talk about. If you're putting these hot Brussels sprouts in there and you've got this hot cream sauce, it may not take that long. If you've had your, if you did your Brussels sprouts and then, had them in the refrigerator all cooked and then put them in here, it may take longer. So until it's bubbly.
GBD.
You can tell.
Golden brown and delicious.
Oh, golden brown. I like that.
I may have stolen it from someone, so TM not pending with me.
And in it goes for 20 to 25 minutes.
Sounds delicious.
You know, one of the things that always happens when I cook with cheese is that I end up with leftover cheese. And I have a basket in my refrigerator actually that has leftover cheese. But you know what?
I bet there's a Joe way.
I bet there's a Joe way for that.
Let's
Felt
see.
like that was coming, and I can't wait to see what way that is.
Here we go.
Welcome to Joe's Way. Today we're going to make a mac and cheese my way, not the way that everybody goes out and buys the cheese to make it. In our refrigerator we usually have like a half a stick of butter, cream cheese, more cheese, a bag of cheese, leftover cheese pieces. And what I do is I take this and I'll grate the cheese till I get 2 cups, and I'll vary the pieces so they have some of each kind of cheese. So I never have the same mac and cheese. It tastes different every time because of the proportion of the different cheeses that I use. In a pan, I put 2 tablespoons of butter. I put a tablespoon of flour, and I mix that up into a roux. Then I add the milk, and I'll add a little bit of the cream cheese. It gives it a good consistency. When I get it to the consistency that I want, the thickness, I'll take and put the cheese in, and then melt that into it and keep stirring it. You have to keep stirring it till it's all melted and to the consistency, the thickness that you want. Once you do that, you've already cooked in the beginning your ½ pound of macaroni, and then I take the cheese sauce, pour on top of that, and the other options that I do, which is my go-to fun food, is macaroni and cheese with hamburger, onion, and mushroom. And put those in there, cook those off, put them in there, mix it all up. It works great. You can use broccoli or cauliflower or even Brussels sprouts like you just saw earlier. I'll show you how it looks when we're done. And this is what it looks like, and it's ready to go. Thank you for visiting the Joe's Way. Have a good day.
Thanks, Joe. That was really helpful. I think it's time for us to have some casserole.
I'm all in on that.
Let's do it.
It is looking golden brown and delicious.
It is looking golden brown and delicious. Actually,
Take it off of there.
I'm going to take it off of there, and you can grab
I've got
that.
you. Yep.
I love the teamwork that goes on in this kitchen.
Oh, that's pretty.
So there we have our cooked casserole. And you can see the cheese on the top and the Ritz crackers. And we are going to dig in.
All right.
Serving spoon.
Got it.
Look at that. That's great. Oh, it smells so good.
Looks delicious.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for
This
coming.
good idea.
Thanks for having me. I love
just
being
learned
able
so
to
much.
talk about cheese and dairy farms, especially in Maine, and on this show because you talk, the name itself, Nourishing Maine, and dairy farms like mine, we nourish our communities from the inside
You
out.
sure do.
That's right.
You nourish all of us.
At every level, I think that's the other thing we've talked about here is that nourishing is about nourishing the economy and the 5,000 jobs that are directly related to dairy in the state and 9,000 others where they're processors or sellers or whatever. It's just really amazing. And I think, and you said all but one county has dairy farms.
Yep, so we've got 146 dairy farms in the state. All but one county is represented. We have farms to the tippy top up near St. Agat. We have farms down at the deep south near Kittery.
Deep south.
And some of the first people in the United States to see the sunrise are actually on a dairy farm. And the whole while we're putting good food from a good place with a good mission on the table. I mean,
All about it.
And
tastes
so
so
many
good.
recipes like this one. We can go on and on about how many cheese things we could eat.
All right, cheers.
cheers.
So good.
That is, cheese the day,
Savory
man.
is the word. It comes right to mind. It is so delicious.
This is comfort food, really.
So Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we want you to know that you can have your Nourishing Maine apron so you can wear it all over the place and tell everybody about all the wonderful things that we're doing here in Maine. Not that you don't already do that.
I have even more to tell thanks to you too. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for being here. And thank you for joining us on Nourishing Maine here from Dragonfly Cove Farm in Dresden. I'm Marge Kilkelly.
I'm Mary Kate Rennie.
I'm Jenny Tilden Flood, dairy farmer from Maine's Dairy Capital in Clinton, Maine.
Thank you all from Nourishing Maine.